Alright guys, today we're back on the GENMAX 9000 inverter generator. We're going to do its first oil change today. We're about halfway through its break-in period. And real quick about the break-in period. On the GENMAX website, it says that the first 5 hours of usage we call the break-in period. The purpose of the break-in period is to seat the rings of the piston. During the break-in period, stay at or below 50% of the running watt rating and vary the load occasionally to allow stator windings to heat and cool. As with all new engines, the piston rings and cylinder need to be broken in. This is important for the newly manufactured cylinder wall and rings to seat themselves. It is not necessary to run the generator for 5 straight hours to do the break-in period. The generator can run for 5 hours over any period of time until they reach those 5 hours. However, in the manual of the generator, it says break-in period. Break in the engine will help to ensure proper equipment and engine operation. The break-in period will last about 30 hours of use. Do not exceed 75% of the generator's running wattage during this period. Okay, so we got two conflicting break-in periods from the same company. But to me, in my mind, the 5 hours is a good break-in for the engine itself. Which brings me to these products that I have here today. First, I've got this engine break-in oil. This particular break-in oil is made by Royal Purple. There's many different companies that make it. Modern-day engine oils do not have the phosphorus and the zinc additives that they once had, and those are the additives that really help ensure piston rings get broken in correctly, the rings, the cylinder wall, and the flat tappet camshafts. It's really important for camshafts and cylinders. So, is the break-in oil required? Absolutely not, or the manufacturer would recommend it. This is something that I do. The oil that's in the engine currently is the same stuff. And I'm going to use it again for another oil change interval just to make sure the engine's broke in real good. I've got a cheap funnel that I thought I'd try that screws onto the bottle. I found that at the store a while back. I'm going to add an oil drain hose onto the engine so I don't have to make a mess every time I change it. And I purchased a billet aluminum magnetic dipstick to help catch any metal shavings that may be in the engine. So anyway, I've got this kind of this deep dish paper plate with a rig that I made up for holding a coffee filter so that we can drain the oil into that and see what we get out of it, if anything, for metal shaving. Plus, like I said in the original GENMAX video, this is one of the, maybe the only brand of generator, 9,000 watt inverter generator currently on the market with any form of oil filtration whatsoever. This generator has an engine oil screen. So we'll check that out when we change the oil also. Let me get set up here and we'll get into it. Okay, just like we did in the original video, we'll take this door off. And now let me see if I can get you in for a closer look. Okay, so I stuck a light down in here. Hopefully it doesn't flicker too bad on camera. But you can see the yellow dipstick there. And then just to the right of the dipstick, it kind of looks like a gray dipstick that's a little down to the right and further in. That's the oil screen. Okay, I took you off the tripod here for a second. You can see the drain plug down there just to the left of the yellow dipstick. And then if you can see the gray dipstick down there to the right of the filled dipstick. And then there's this rubber plug in the chassis which comes out. And there's another rubber plug inside the housing that you can pull. And if you see, there's a channel there, and there's a channel over there. As you pull that drain plug, we'll direct the oil down to that rubber plug, and that's how we're going to drain it. I'm going to pull the rubber plug out. And then there's one down in there for draining. Get that out. Come on. Got that one out. That's the one I was talking about for the bottom where the oil can drain through. Okay, well that rubber plug that comes out makes it nice for getting an extension with a socket in there. Just loosen that up. And just let the oil hit the belly pan of the generator and let it run out that hole. While the oil's draining, I'm going to pull out the dipstick. I had to swap out the drain pan, and I don't have a filter holder for this new one, so hopefully the first filter caught whatever we were going to catch, and we'll look at it here shortly. I had to get a needle nose pliers because that oil filter screen's a little bit farther down in there than I can reach. Okay, I've got the oil filter out. I'm going to inspect this. I'll rotate it briefly on camera so you can see it. I wiped this screen off. Hopefully that's focused. And the oil must flow in through this end and then out the screen when it's in the engine. And you can see there were some particles in that screen. Not anything, I mean, more than you'd like to see, but at least the screen was there. And like I said, I believe this is the only generator in this category that has any filtration whatsoever. So it's obviously, like there's a chunk right there, and there's a few of them in there. Pretty cool. This is the plastic dipstick that came out of the engine. And this is the dipstick that I'm going to put in it. Magnetic oil dipstick. And the tip has a real strong magnet in there. So to demonstrate that, so that's what I'm going to use for an oil dipstick. For future oil changes, I'm going to permanently install this oil drain hose. And this end of the hose is the exact same thread as the oil drain plug. And then this end of the hose has a cap that you unscrew when you want to change the oil. Instead of making your generator belly pan a liquid mess full of oil, you just run this hose or out this rubber access hole into a drain pan, unscrew the cap, and let it drain into a real drain pan instead of these paper plates. It's not real clear what size oil drain plug was in this engine. And when you buy these hoses on the internet, they're not real clear what size you're getting. But what I determined is, so the part number is 1012. That means it's a 12 millimeter thread down here on the engine oil plug end. If it was a 1010, that'd be 10 millimeter. So the smaller generators, like the Hondas and the Harbor Freight 2000s and whatnot, would be the 10 millimeter, and the larger ones are the 12 millimeter. Well, we had a little bit of a mess, but I'll show you what I come up with at the end here for metal shavings. Okay, got the new dipstick ready to go. I'm going to thread that in. Oh, hold on, I'll put in the filter first. I sprayed this clean with brake clean, blew it out with light air pressure. I didn't want to hurt the screen. I don't know if you can see that. Got it as clean as I could, which is, I don't see any spots in it, so it's clean enough for me. I get this installed. All right, now I'll put in the new dipstick. Make sure that fits, but I got to take it back out because, of course, I need to fill the engine with oil. Okay, well, that newfangled funnel thing that I found at the store doesn't fit my bottle. So I'm going to end up using the funnel that came with the generator, which is fine because it works perfectly. I found when I filled this generator last time that it took exactly 1 quart, even though it specifies just over a quart in the manual. I tried to put in a touch more after the first quart. It just poured right back out. So to me, 1 quart is perfect. Okay, first we're going to use the old dipstick. Put it in there and we'll just get a reading. And you can see that it's right at the very top. It's full. So now we're going to use the new billet aluminum dipstick with strong magnet in the end. O-ring, it's got its own O-ring on it. We'll thread that in there. Okay, so now the last thing to deal with is this hose that I put on. I was hoping I could push it back in, and obviously if I just loop it around like that, it's going to be in the way of the side panel. And it's got this little rubber strap on there for holding the other end of the hose, but I'm going to have to modify this right here to get the hose inside the housing. I absolutely hate modifying anything to the point where you can't put it back to 100% original. Like, I don't mind modifying anything as long as when I remove it, there's no trace left behind. But in this particular case, I'm going to have to make an exception. Otherwise, that hose isn't going to work. So, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my side cutter and make one angled cut right there. And that way, I can get the hose back inside of it. Probably have it hang just like that. This light would be out of here, and this thing could just sit right inside there. Perfect. Okay, I think we're all buttoned back up. I got that bottom oval rubber plug back in. I've got this front round rubber plug back in. That's why I didn't cut this piece out completely. Just made the one slit so the rubber plug would still hold in there. I've got the hose tucked away inside here. Got my metal clip back on here that fell off. Got the new dipstick in. Got the screen put back in. We're ready to go to finish out this break-in period. Let's take a look at the oil drain and see if there's any metal shavings in that. Okay, you're looking at the bottom of... That's not a coffee filter anymore. That's just a white paper towel that I formed into a large old metal funnel. And I took those 2 little paper plate drain pans I had and dumped them into this, along with those coffee filters. It just fell apart on me. So I may have missed something, but I did the best I could to catch it. So I'm going to shine this light in here. And I don't see anything major. No major chunks. A couple little chunks. There's a couple little sparklies. I see 3 sparklies. See if I can get a pointer. I see 3 sparklies in there. At the end of the needle nose right there, and right there. Other than that, I don't see anything terribly major. Maybe another little smaller piece right there. But this looks pretty good. I've seen some small gas engines that, come from the factory, and after the first oil change, there's just debris everywhere. This makes me feel really good about this one. I mean, it's going to be normal to see some debris on the first oil change, probably on pretty much any engine. But of course, the less you see, the better you feel. And this makes me feel pretty good. So, okay, let's get her buttoned up. All right, guys, that's all I have for now. Be sure to stick around and see what all that extra craziness is all about. All right, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.